The World This Week.
America's Congress at last passed a deal that avoids the fiscal cliff of automatic spending cuts and tax rises, although the frantic round of negotiations continued past the deadline into New Year's Day. Under the deal, taxes will rise for individuals who earn over $400,000, a retreat from Barack Obama's preferred level of $250,000, but still anathema to many Republicans. Markets were relieved, though another political fight looms over raising the limit on America's debt ceiling.
Hillary Clinton was hospitalized with a blood clot. She is stepping down as America's Secretary of State this year, and on December 21st, Mr. Obama nominated John Kerry to replace her. Susan Rice, an early favorite for the job, withdrew from consideration after Republicans criticized her response to September's lethal attack on an American consulate in Libya.
The Constitutional Council in France struck down François Hollande's flagship measure of a 75% top income tax rate on those who earn at least €1 million, or $1.3 million, just days before it was due to take effect. He vowed to press ahead with the tax.
Mario Monti, who has headed a non-party government in Italy since November 2011, said that he was ready to serve again as Prime Minister if asked after a general election, which will probably be held on February 28th. Mr. Monti has launched his own policy agenda and held talks with centre-right groups.
Venezuela's President Hugo Chavez suffered a respiratory infection and further complications after a fourth operation for cancer in Cuba last month. Officials cancelled New Year's Eve celebrations and organised a mass to pray for Mr. Chavez's life, but denied rumours that he was in an induced coma or had died.
2 people were killed in Argentina, and more than 100 were arrested after 2 days of looting in several cities before Christmas. The government of President Cristina Fernández blamed dissident members of her Peronist movement for the mayhem.
Bolivia's President Evo Morales announced further nationalizations of foreign companies, this time of 2 Spanish-owned electricity distribution firms.
Nearly 64% of Egyptians endorsed an Islamist-flavoured constitution in December. Turnout was less than 33%. The secular opposition hopes to do better in a general election next month.
The UN's Commissioner for Human Rights said that at least 60,000 people had died violently since civil strife erupted in Syria in March 2011, a much higher figure than in previous estimates.
Rebels in the Central African Republic, arguably Africa's poorest country, closed in on the capital, Bangui, and were poised to overthrow President François Bozizé.
Further rallies were held across India demanding more action on women's rights after the loss of a 23-year-old student. The woman was gang-raped, attacked with metal bars and thrown out of a bus in Delhi. The rape sparked violent protests in the capital over official indifference to women's safety.
Tens of thousands took to the streets of Hong Kong to call for the resignation of the city's chief executive, Leung Chun-ying. Mr. Leung has been caught up in a scandal related to building work at his house, a delicate issue in Hong Kong where property prices are sky-high. The protesters also demanded a bigger say in selecting future chief executives, a role currently fulfilled by a pro-Beijing committee.
Kim Jong-un, North Korea's leader, used a New Year's speech to urge greater cooperation with the South and to seek improvement in the North's economy. Park Geun-hye, who was elected last month as South Korea's first female president, has indicated that she is willing to restart a dialogue with the North.
Toyota settled a class action lawsuit in America over instances of sticking accelerator pedals that led to a big safety recall of its vehicles in 2009 to 2010. The carmaker is to compensate drivers under the terms of the settlement, which lawyers for the plaintiffs valued at up to $1.4 billion, describing it as a landmark case in the car industry.
Markets were surprised shortly before Christmas by the announcement that NYSE Euronext, which operates the New York Stock Exchange, had agreed to an $8.2 billion takeover bid from Intercontinental Exchange, an electronic exchange based in Atlanta. If its deal is approved, ICE will gain access to Euronext's lucrative futures business.
Last year was a good one for many of the world's stock markets. The S&P 500 rose by 13% during 2012, the Nasdaq was up by 16%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average by 7%. In Europe, the German DAX gained 29%, and the FTSE 100 6%. Even the benchmark Greek index advanced by 33%. The MSCI Emerging Markets Index saw a 15% increase. The Shanghai stock market, a comparatively poor performer last year, ended December a bit higher than when it opened at the start of 2012.